welcome to Hot Money Technicals on BloombergQuint Live, India's first digital live streaming business news service. This is the show which gives you a complete wrap of all the stocks that are buzzing in trade. I'm Darshan Mehta. Let's welcome our experts then. Brijesh, Bhatia of Dealmoney Securities, Raja Venkatraman of Chart Advice, and Dyaneshwar Padwal of KIFS Securities join us on the show. Many thanks to all of my guests for coming in today. Before we begin with the show with our analysts, let's bring in Yash Upadhyay, who has a chart on one of the stocks that he wants to cover. Yash, which is the stock that you want to cover?
So we're looking at ICICI Lombard, Darshan, and it has given a big breakout from its support level. So we're taking a look at the daily chart of ICICI Lombard, and we're using not the usual candlestick pattern, but we're looking at the Heikinashi chart system. And what we've seen over there is the fact that the stock has managed to come off from its mark of around 1300, which has acted as a strong support for the counter. In today's day of trade, the stock is down closer to around 1% with volumes being 2 to 3 times that of its 30-day average. And with that weakness, we are seeing that even the ADX indicator is suggesting a sell signal. So take a look at the price chart, and first I'll talk about the breakdown. So the red line, that is the mark of 1300, and we've seen that it has come off from that mark significantly. And the ADX indicator, that is also suggesting continued weakness. So the ADX indicator shows you the underlying strength within the trend, and the minus DMI line, which is the one in red color, that has inched higher, and the ADX indicator too, which is the white line, is going higher. So when both of these move together upwards, it indicates that there is significant enough weakness. The ADX line has creeped above the mark of 20, which is typically a benchmark for an indication that the trend is really very strong. So multiple factors are suggesting that we could see further weakness in the counter. It's at about 1280. Should it give a daily close about 1300, then we could see some reversal, but currently it looks very weak.
Okay, 1280 is something where the counter is. Brijesh, what's your sense on ICICI Lombard? Is that a view that you would agree to?
Yeah, definitely a good short bet, because if you look at the structure since November, we have seen slow and steady rise, but if you look at the volumes at higher levels, we have seen aggressive selling coming, and now price breaking the short-term support zone. I think 1220 seems to be a good short bet, and keeping a stop loss of 1305.
Okay, what's your sense, Raja?
Yeah, the higher time frame charts does suggest that one should be actually exiting ICICI Lombard right now, and the levels around 1300 was a very important support zone on higher time frames. With that being broken, one could actually look to exit and look at lower levels towards the region of around 1150 as a new buying opportunity.
Okay, and Dyaneshwar, what's your sense?
Well, Darshan, if you have a close look on the weekly chart, so intermediate trend line has been broken down on the weekly charts, but you know the closing is most important. If till Friday stock is managed to close below 1300 mark, so then it would be a great sell. Otherwise, I would avoid this stock.
Okay, that's the view that's coming in on ICICI Lombard. Let's go across to Brijesh for the first chart. Now the stock that he has selected is IRB Infra. Over the past few days, there have been some bit of fundamental news coming in. Firstly, the investment that came in from GIC, almost 3,700 crores. And secondly, they bagged the Mumbai project, Mumbai-Pune Expressway, and the old highway also. So they'll have to pay more than 8,000 crores for a 10-year period. So that's the fundamental side why the counter did manage to rally. But on the technical side, why are you bullish on this counter?
Yeah, if I just look at this is the daily chart. Okay, so price was hovering in a major range. If you look at there was a multiple highs at around 90 to 93 levels, and price has managed to move above this zone. Now if I just look at the volumes over here, slow and steady volumes has increased. Okay, this is the 200 days pink line, is the 200 days average. Okay, price have managed to cross about 200 days average. Sustainable move was seen about 200 days average, and it was the first time after April 2018 where it has crossed 200 days average. Now if I just look at these move, the equal move, it has formed a bullish AB equal to CD. Plus if I just look at the yellow line which is being drawn over here, look at this momentum where it is trading in a falling channel formation. This is typically a technical flag pattern, and if I just look at the momentum where it is hovering at the lower level of the flag. Now if I just look at the weekly chart, so if you look at the weekly chart right from around 2012, okay, prices have taken multiple support. Even if you look at the 2009 lows were around same. 2012 low has been revisited over here at around 60 levels, 60-65 levels. Yeah. Price consolidated in the form of narrow range, okay, taking multiple supports. Now if I just look at the highs of June 2018, prices have, after the first time, prices have managed to form the higher higher low structure, which is the first sign of bullish. Now, if I just look at the trend line, the falling trend line, it has managed to cross above this falling trend line. The range has been broken out, which was consolidating quite. If you look at the week on week, it was around 14 weeks, which has consolidated in a range. Now, prices are on the daily chart breaking, weekly chart is breaking out of its range. So, I think a big structure is turning out to be in a positive territory. So, at around 96, one can take a bet of with the stop loss of 84. I'm looking for 130 on the upside.
130. What's the time frame that you?
I'm probably looking for 6 months at least.
6 months. So, and it will be a slow accumulator that you
slow
would say.
accumulator.
Okay, thanks so much for that. Raja, are you bullish on IRB Infra?
Yeah, from what Brijesh has suggested, yes, the stock is showing some signs of bottoming out, and it's formed a nice rounding bottom around the levels of around 85. So now I'm awaiting a clear closing above 108, which would be a good bet for a nice multi-day play, or rather multi-month play towards the region of 140. But till I get a closing above 108, I would like to wait. Momentum, yes, is seeping in on the positive side. So yes, I would definitely keep it on my radar.
Dyaneshwar, what's your sense?
Yeah, well, Darshan, it is a very good trade setup. You know, after the impulsive move, the stock was unfolded into the corrective pattern. And recently, I feel that the correction has been completed, but bulls need to cross the 102 level. So I would be watching for 102 level. If bulls manage to take out the 102 level, so I would be a buyer in this counter by keeping a stop loss of 92 for an initial leg of up move towards the 130, 135.
Okay, that's the view that's coming in on the first stock, IRB Infra. The second stock that we want to talk about is a stock by Raja, and he wants to talk about Bajaj Electricals. Let's pull up the chart and let's see the trend, how it's been. It's been doing well for late at 435. Why are you bullish on this counter?
If you take a look at this counter, I've used the concept of Ichimoku, and we are seeing that the stock has given a good pullback somewhere in the month of Jan at the start of the year, and has steadily headed higher. Despite the market volatility and continued bearishness, this stock has found positive traction. And here also it is given nice pullback into the longer time frame average here. And from here, the stock has witnessed a nice rebound yesterday. And the possibility of heading higher is much higher, because if you take a look at the momentum indicator is the ADX DMI setup, and the ADX DMI setup suggests that the bullish players are very much in action, and the consolidated picture is giving us indication that we could now move much higher.
Okay, what levels are you looking at?
Yeah, one could buy at current levels, use dips towards 425. Place a stop loss below 400 for an upside towards 495 and 525.
And how soon do you see this coming in?
Within the next 15 trading sessions.
Okay, so it will be a fast mover according to you, Bajaj
Yes.
Electrical. And volume supporting?
Yeah, volumes are supporting. Yesterday was a good volume.
Okay, thanks so much for that, Raja. Brijesh, what's your sense on Bajaj Electricals?
Yeah, I would definitely look for long bet, because stock after a long time has crossed about 200 as average, 200 weekly average, both average has been surpassed. And now if I look at the weekly chart, we have seen bullish range shift in RSI, MACD giving positive cross. So I would look for a target of around 500 on the upside, and agree with Raja, 495, 500 seems to be a achievable target.
Okay, and Dyaneshwar, what's your sense?
Yeah, well, Darshan, if you look at the overall chart structure, so near about the stock has made a bottom near about 300 290 level, and you know, it has marches towards the northward trajectory, and all the indicators are indicating the positive signs, and current market price would be a great bet. I would keep a stop loss of 400 where the cup and handles breakout has been formed, and for an initial leg of up move towards the 540 560.
Okay, that's the view that's coming in. Dyaneshwar now has a view on V-Mart. Let's pull up the counter. It corrected significantly. It hasn't rallied as much as the D-Mart at one time. It's corrected significantly from the highs of 3,000. Again, a rally has again started 2,400. Why would you be bullish on this counter?
Yeah, Darshan, well, if you look at the overall chart structure, so after an impulsive move, the stock was unfolded into the corrective pattern, and you know, the correction pattern has been unfolded into the falling wedge channel, and after that the stock is managed to give the breakout with the good volume. So if you can see, it is a good accumulation has been done on the breakout, and stock is managed managed to well sustain above the breakout. So current market price is 23.99. So any dips comes towards the 2300 to 2250. So that would be a great buying opportunity. So those who want to take a risk, they can buy at current market price, or accumulation strategy would be a great strategy. Keep a stop loss of 200 if the stocks comes under the pattern. So it would not again give the bulls chance to go on the northern trajectory. So 200 would be 2000 would be my stop loss, and wait for an initial leg of up move towards the 3000.
And how soon do you see this coming in?
It will take more than a month, because already we have seen a great rally previously. So this move would be very less aggressive as compared to the previous rally.
Okay, and volume seem to be supporting
Yes.
the move that's coming in. Thanks so much for that, Dyaneshwar. Raja, what's your sense on V-Mart? Would you be a buyer?
Yeah, V-Mart had witnessed a steady decline since 2018 high. But then around the 1650 levels, it had come into nice Fibonacci cluster support zone. And from there on, it has made a nice double bottom. And about 2200, the double bottom breakout actually gives the targets towards the region of around 2800. So now the mode is in place, so one could look to buy here at current levels, use dip towards the breakout zone around 2200, place a stop below 2100, and that is the opportunity here. There's a good opportunity here.
That's what your sense?
Yeah, but definitely start sector is very much bullish, but I would slightly wait for a entry around 20 to 50, 20 to 70, because if I just look at the risk reward wise, 1950 stands out to be a stop loss for me, and I'm expecting the highs of around 28, 2000, but I would look for around 20 to 50, 20 to 70 as an entry point.
Okay, that's the view that's coming in. Let's start with the second round with Brijesh for his strategy on Petronet LNG. Let's pull up the counter and see how it's managed to perform of late. It's been consolidating, but why now?
Yeah. So if I just look at the highs over here, it was managing resisting around 245, 250 zone. It has managed to cross this breakout. We have seen a good up move. Again a consolidation zone. Now if I just look at the momentum over here, okay, it tested the previous breakout levels, okay, made a bullish engulfing pattern. Now if I just look at the short term momentum over here, right from around 210 level, if I just draw the trend line, it's taking support at around the similar structure. This is the 200 as average. If I look at the 200 average, the supports comes around the similar levels. Now if I look at the volumes over here, okay, every decline the volumes are very much lower. Now if I look at the volumes on the bullish candle, they are very much aggressive. Even if you look at the breakout over here, when the initial breakout was there was a huge accumulation happening in Petronet. Now if I just look at the weekly chart over here, yeah. So if you look at the weekly chart right from around 2009, okay, when it made a low, it has been trending convincingly, taking supports at trend line. And if you look at the over here, it is again taking support at trend line. And if you look at the weekly chart, it is consolidating around the support of trend line. And if you look at the daily chart, it is giving a consolidation breakout. And with the volume, so I think a good bet at around 260, looking for target of around 300 on the upside. And stop loss can be placed at slightly below 245.
245. And if the trend line is breaks on this thing, would you initiate a short on this counter?
Yeah, if it breaks around 245, which is I'm looking at the trend line support, you can initiate a short positions also.
Okay, thanks so much for that, Brijesh. Dyaneshwar, what's your sense on Petronet?
Well, stock is moving in a clear uptrend, so any dips comes towards the 255 to 50 mark, so that could be a great buying opportunity, and keep a stop loss of 240 on a closing basis for an initial leg of up move towards the 290.
Okay, and Raja, what's your sense?
Yeah, looking at the entire downward structure of Petronet, yes, it could be a low risk buy, but looking at the way the momentum is placed and also the higher time frames which are indicating some hesitation, I would avoid this counter at the moment.
Okay, that's the view that's coming in on Petronet. Raja has a chart on Lupin. Let's find out what it's doing. And Lupin has been consolidating and it's been rather weak. On the fundamental side, yes, there are plenty of problems that are there on Lupin, but and I see it's a sell call. Why do you see there should be a sell call?
Yeah, so if you see since 2018, after the decline which we saw in Lupin, it spent a considerable period in 2019 in a consolidation mode. If you can see here, the consolidation is being marked here. And this consolidation did not give any clarity on what's really happening. But then what we are finding now is an expansion in volatility to the downside. And for that, I have used a tool called as Bollinger Band. And prices right now are tagging the lower end of the band. And this is a signal that the prices are headed lower. And if you also take a look at the bottom panel, we have used the RSI indicator for understanding what is the speed at which the prices are traveling lower. And that is also clearly suggesting that the momentum is weakening to the downside, and all this in conjunction suggests that we could be expecting some declines in the coming days.
Okay, so what levels are you looking at?
Yeah, one could look to short at current levels, use a rally towards 690 as an additional selling opportunity. Place a stop loss about 705 for a drop towards 605.
605, so that's almost a 60 rupee drop that you're seeing.
Yeah.
Will it be fast and below what level will the selling accelerate?
The selling will accelerate actually below this hammer low,
Okay.
which was an attempt to
650.
revive.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the selling will accelerate below this.
Okay, thanks so much for that, Brijesh. What's your sense on Lupin?
I was slightly contra view because if you look at the weekly and monthly, when it made a low of around 646 on both monthly and weekly, it form a hammer candle, which is bullish candlestick pattern. Plus, if I just look at the RSI on daily, it has been trading below 30. Weekly is trading at around 35, 36 level, where we have seen multiple reversals. So in case I would take a risk bet on long side, keeping a stop loss of 640 on the downside and look for 710 on the upside.
And Dyaneshwar, what's your sense?
Well, Darshan, if you look at the overall pharma sector, so we have seen that from 2018, the pharma sector is continuously underperforming the key benchmark index. And if you look at the on a weekly time frame, if you look at to the relative rotation graph, so it also indicating the pharma sector is moving in a lagging quadrant, wherein the relative strength and momentum are very less. So pharma in that space, Lupin is aggressively falling towards the southern trajectory. But right now at the current market price, risk reward ratio is not favorable. If stock is managed to move towards the 690, so that could be a great selling opportunity. Keep a stop loss of 710 for an initial leg of down move towards the 650. That would be a previous swing low.
Okay, and final stock from our guest before Yash finally comes back in is a chart on Century Textiles, and that is what Dyaneshwar wants to highlight. Pull up the chart. Let's see what it's by managing. Okay, I think there is a problem with the chart. We just have to hold on. But if we can have the normal chart, and at least in the meantime, Dyaneshwar can explain. I think we will try to get your chart, but yeah. This is the chart.
Well, Darshan, if you look at the overall chart structure of Century Textile, so recently stock has corrected very significantly, and from there onward,
I think this is the intraday chart. Can we have what type of chart do you want?
Yeah.
Okay,
daily.
it's a 12-month chart.
Daily.
Yeah, but this is a 12-month chart. Just tell your strategy. I think let's try to just figure.
Okay.
What levels, if you can just highlight the levels?
Yeah, of course. Recently, we have seen that the stock is managed to give the correction full-fledged, and after that, stock is managed to move out from the making a bottom from near about 400, 450 marks, and right now it is quoting at 550, 560. 560, 70 level. So at these junctures, we have seen that the stock is moving in a clear uptrend by making a higher top, higher bottom formation, and simultaneously we have seen that the clearly trendline breakout has been happen on the RSI, and again the RSI is testing that breakout zone. And simultaneously, if you look at the price, so price also taking an intermediate support near around 540, 555 marks. So that would be a great buying opportunity. Keep a stop loss of 520 on a closing basis for an initial leg of up move towards the 660 would be my first target. And after that, if that level has been sustained, so stock marginally move towards the 720 level.
Okay, thanks so much for that, Dyaneshwar. Brijesh, what's your sense on Century Textiles? How are you reading to the chart?
I agree with Dyaneshwar, because if you look at the structure, it is clearly a bullish trend. We have seen a consolidation where market was correcting. Still, if you look at the higher low structure, it has managed to hold its 545 previous swing low. I think I'll take a long bet with a stop loss of 545 and look for around 612 on the upside.
Okay, Raja, what's your sense?
Yeah, I agree with Dyaneshwar. The pullback has come to a nice median line support on higher time frames as well, and around the 550, which is a good value support region. It's actually giving us a nice buying opportunity, and it's a very good buy selection.
Okay, that's the view that's coming in on Century, and the final stock that Yash wants to speak about is on Biocon. Obviously, yesterday the counter was weak. It does manage to rebound significantly because of investor interest. But what's the chart? Is it a negative chart?
Yes, Darshan. So yesterday, like you rightly mentioned, there was negative news with respect to the US FDA giving out 3 observations under Form 483, and even without that, we've been seeing some amount of weakness coming into the counter. So take a look at the daily chart. While it did manage to gain as much as 3% the day before that, because of that negative news, we saw a bearish engulfing pattern form, and most importantly, where it has formed is very important. So there are 2 lines over here, 2 dotted lines, and and they are at the mark where it has been facing stiff resistance. So this is around the mark of 315 to 320, and each time that it has managed to reach these levels, it has failed to close above that on a daily time frame. The intraday swings have been higher, but it has failed to take out that mark convincingly, and the volumes too have been extremely high as far as the shorts are concerned. In today's day of trade as well, while it recovered from the day's low, we've seen again significant amount of weakness, and it's forming a kind of candlestick pattern which is generally extremely bullish. It's called a gravestone doji. So multiple factors are suggesting that the risk to reward ratio obviously is very favorable for going short right now, and any rise could be used to go short in the counter. But given how the chart setup is, it would probably make more sense to get our experts' view on this.
Okay, and that's the view that's coming in on Biocon. Is it looking a short?
No, I would take a long bet, because if I just look at the structure, it's still in a bullish run even after the yesterday's negative sell-off. We haven't seen a stock consolidating between below the 300 mark. Second, if I just look at the derivative future OI positions, it's still a long build-up. We haven't seen a covering even after yesterday's fall from 315 to 300 sort of levels. So I think I would stay long with the stop loss of 287 and look for 340 on the upside.
340. So long call, long or short on Biocon?
Yeah, neither actually, because looking at the way the chart is behaving, I would await move above 320 zone to actually initiate a buy. Otherwise, if it breaks the 290, it will be a sell. So
Okay.
right now it's in a neutral zone.
Okay, neutral zone. What's your sense?
Yeah, I agree with Brijesh, because recently if you look at the trade setup, it is clearly showing an upward trend, and it is making a higher top higher bottom formation. Until and unless 280 level has not been taken out, so still trend is more bullish. So any dips comes towards the 295, 290 level, so that could be a great buying opportunity.
Okay, that's the view that's coming in on the counter. But with that, it's a wrap on today's edition of Hot Money. Let me thank my guests, Brijesh, Raja and Dyaneshwar. Thank you so much for coming in today. Ask BQ comes up next. Stay tuned to BloombergQuint.